What's up, you guys? All right, today is Thursday, August 26th, and give you a last update here before I get back out on the road tonight. Uh, so that means my truck is done, or just about done. I haven't gotten the official word on it yet, but when I called this morning, they said the only thing left to do was a software update, and that was it. And they said it would be ready before 4 p.m. So I'll be here just until my wife gets home from work, and then I'll be heading back down to pick my truck up. And I've already let my dispatcher know, hey, I'll be ready at this time from the drop yard, or actually from the dealer, and then I can bobtail over to the drop yard, whether it's to grab an empty or loaded, didn't matter. But I just let her know I'd be ready around, I guess to bobtail over to the yard around 5:30. Probably be at the drop yard by around 6 tonight, and be ready to roll from there. And asked if they had anything that I could grab out of the drop yard, since I was going to need to be there anyway. And I was given three choices on loads to go for. Well, one of them picks up tomorrow, but okay, one of them, the first option was a load going to Plainview, Texas, same place I just went to right before I came home with the last load I had. Going to Plainview, Texas, in between Amarillo and Lubbock. That's a drop and hook on both ends, but I think that might be sitting in the drop yard already. Second option was Walmart Colton to Winter Haven, which I assume is Florida. I know we do Winter Haven, Florida, but I think one of the messages I got suggested it was California, but I think she meant Florida. And then third option was a load going to Houston, which I almost went for. But now Houston, that could be like a Weichuan load, whatever, Weichuan, I don't know. Someone who knows Chinese or Japanese, whatever language that is. I thought it was Japanese, that place, but I don't know, it might be Chinese. I'm not good with Japanese or Cantonese or Mandarin, whatever the language is, how to properly pronounce that. Weichuan or sound good. I'm guessing that's what it is. It was just something going to Houston. But anyway, I ended up opting for the Plainview load if possible. Just got to wait and see if they assign it to me. And anyway, that's kind of the little update on what's going on. That part of it. Now let's talk about the real point of this video. I want to talk more, especially about John Christner Trucking's lease program, because we got a lot of times we got a lot of haters of the lease program here. It's now I'm not saying this as a spokesperson for JCT, but in a way, how can I avoid it when all my videos show right there that I drive for JCT, and a lot of you guys know that I drive for JCT. So keep that in mind, all right? I'm not trying to sell JCT as a company, and I'm not saying that it's the greatest company for everybody's needs. That's impossible. Every company has their own pros and cons. Everybody individually has their own needs and wants, or do's and don'ts, whatever. So this is more to just give you a little bit more clarity, because a lot of people misunderstand the lease program here, or think that we don't get paid crap. Are we the highest paid lease company in the world? No, but there are a lot of things that you should know about that, with how it's set up, that make our lease program advantageous. So that's kind of what I want to talk about here. It's and also squash some of the myths and rumors that get spread from other drivers. I don't care what kind of lease experience they have or don't. You always hear this or that, and this is where, hey, I'm a driver. I'm a straight shooter. I'm not gonna bullshit with you and give you information that just try to get recruit money. In fact, I don't do much recruiting. I just want someone to make a well-informed decision on whether JCT is the right choice for them, or also maybe you do JCT a favor and give them a bit. Don't waste their time if you're just gonna be a waste of their time too. So a two-way street there, man. All right, so I'm gonna go into my spreadsheet, or actually, let's first talk about a particular individual's comment on there's a post on the JCT actually on Facebook, JCT actual sponsored post that I want to go over first, and it's like it gives me a talking point here, and kind of this guy is completely confused on how things work here. All right, so this guy Michael Chasson, he just put this up today, and he wrote a joke: $1 a mile, never should pay what fuel prices at least. Truck turns 30,000 a month. Pay the drivers. Okay, so there's a couple of problems here. One, we don't get paid $1 a mile. It's $1.05 a mile, and then on top of that, we get an 8-cent market premium right now. So it's really $1.13 a mile that we're getting paid. And then you get the fuel surcharge, which is calculated by basically divide your miles that you're paying by 7. That's for 7 miles per gallon, and multiply that by what the national average fuel price is, which now I don't know. I wasn't in my truck this week, so I couldn't get the message saying what it is, but I know how to find it myself, and I'll show you how that works. And I'll show you how to figure out the fuel surcharge here on your own as well. So we'll cover that. I have a spreadsheet I'll run also, and then I'll show you what website you can go to get the fuel surcharge information, and national average price of diesel fuel first, and then how we can figure out the fuel surcharge based on that, and that tells what our actual per mile rate is. All right, second, truck turns 30,000 a month. No, it's more like 30,000 a quarter. I think that's what he really meant. If you're a solo driver, in fact, we get a safety bonus here if you do 30,000 miles a quarter and don't have any accidents, tickets, violations, whatever. Then you get 2 cents a mile extra, which right at 30,000 miles, that's a $600 extra pay there, once per quarter, and it's not uncommon. We'll all get 700 plus for a safety bonus. So that factors in too. There are other little details in here though, where is there a balloon payment on the? Because I want you, if you're gonna talk about JCT's lease program, at least do a real legit apple versus apple comparison. Yeah, but even then, you can't really do that so well because every lease program is set up differently. I only know of one lease program company out there right now that has a lease program like ours, and I believe it's the Western Flyer Express. I don't know all the details of their program, so I'm not going to try to speak for them. My understanding from other drivers is that their program is like ours though. But virtually any other carrier out there, if they have a lease program, what they do is they run a more traditional type of program where every single week you're always paying a specific amount for your truck payments. So it doesn't matter if you run 3,000 miles or no miles, you're paying like $800 a week or something like that for your truck payment. The amount of the truck payment varies from carrier to carrier, truck to truck, whatever, but ballpark more or less, plan on about maybe even $900 a week now for truck payments on a typical week. And I'll talk some more about those pros and cons too once I have my spreadsheet up for you guys to look at. Also, like I said, the balloon payment. Is there a balloon payment at all after? Is it a 2-year, 3-year lease, 4-year lease, or is it just make the payments until the truck's paid off kind of thing like ours? And ours is actually we have 2 truck payments. One is just a fixed $120 a week payment, and then the other one is a per mile rate that I pay, which I'll get to as well, and I want to get to the spreadsheet as well. So, but that's something else to consider. We don't pay balloon payments here at JCT. Once the truck's paid off, it's $1. That's all it is. $1. You go to our home terminal in Sapulpa, and then you do a title transfer ceremony. They'll take a picture of you with the certificate, holding $1, them giving you a certificate, and then which is also the title to your truck, or also give you the title of the truck, whatever, or do the paperwork, whatever, and then I guess it comes in the mail, whatever. I'll find that out in less than a year, because I'm less than a year away from paying my own truck off. Also, let's see, yeah, with the balloon payment thing, you know, typical lease programs are more like automotive leases, where it's only meant for you to use the car for, with an automotive lease, you only lease the car for maybe 2 or 3 years. You pay a certain amount that's not as tends to be not as much as a regular car payment if you're buying the car, and then after 2 or 3 years after the contract term is up, then the idea is for you to turn the car back in and get another one, and then you know maybe they'll sell it to a rental agency or whatever from there, and what else? Or if you do want to pay the car, if you do want to buy the car after the lease is over, you have a balloon payment you have to make. And then if you have a balloon payment you have to make, you have to get a loan for that amount, or you have to have the money up front to cover it. So that's something else I want to talk about here, more in these devil in the details issues here between if you're going to talk about JCT's lease program and compare it to anybody else. It's not really a good idea. It's what works. Well, maybe I don't know what works for you doesn't work for me, and what works for me doesn't work for you, kind of thing. And I have a friend who recently left us and now drives for Coastal Carriers, and I'm going to include a little bit of information that I got from him. Kind of a contrast there to let you know if you're going to do a lease, this is what can happen, or this is the pros, these are the cons, and then JCT, there are pros and cons too. So just work with what works best for your lifestyle or your needs. It's not, there's no one size fits all thing that works best for everybody. All right, so with that said, I'm going to go to the spreadsheet and we'll give you some more of these details. All right, guys, this is my spreadsheet. I have expense calculator part of it that I can use to give kind of an idea of what to expect from a regular week's pay at JCT. All right. Again, I'm not going to say that JCT is the highest paid weekly carrier out there for lease contracts, but the devil's in the details with what makes JCT advantageous for some and not for others, and that's what the whole point of this is. Okay, so these are all the costs that I have on my lease contract. So I've got $11.53 a week for Qualcomm usage. $7.62 a week for insurance, liability only. $36.62 a week for occupational insurance. And $96.13 for physical damage insurance. And driver's legal, that's an optional thing there. Yeah, all these up here are mandatory. You have to pay for all of those. Now, driver's legal, that's optional. It's only $3.98, or basically $4 a week. It's not much, and that actually did work out for me with that bypassing ticket I got in Boise City last year. And then ATBS accounting service, that's also an optional service. You don't have to pay for that. So that's $22.49. And the fixed lease of $120 a week, that's also a mandatory, no matter what, you pay that amount, as long as you're paying payments on the truck. The rest of it, tire maintenance, performance escrow, I'll talk about that in a second, and a lease payment here. All right, so tire maintenance, it is normally 5 cents a mile. If your account is in the negative, they'll charge you 10 cents a mile until your account's back in the black, and then they'll go back to 5. Or if you're like me, you can even pay extra toward your maintenance account to help get it back in the black faster, or even get it further into the black than you might already have it, so you always have extra wiggle room. So I personally pay 15 cents a mile, and right now I have it set up for, once I put the miles in here, you'll see it's at 5 cents a mile. Performance escrow, that's basically an insurance escrow. So if you have any kind of an insurance claim that needs to be filed, like you get an accident of some sort, or maybe you have a OS&D that is charged against you, and your insurance will cover that. It's $1,000 deductible, and what happens when you first get hired, they'll take $25 a week from you for 40 weeks, which is about 8 months or so. Once your performance escrow is at $1,000, they stop taking the money out. Okay, then your lease payment, it varies by it depends on what model year your truck is. My truck is a 2016 Peterbilt, so I'm only paying 22 cents a mile. But if you're if you're driving a newer truck, let's say a 2020 KW T680, you're probably paying 25 cents a mile. And then if you're driving a 2021 Freightliner, I believe it's 26 cents a mile. I'm going to go over all those details here just so you can see the differences with how things work. All right, so fixed subtotal, basically all of these fixed payments, no matter what, if you don't run any miles or you run 3,000 miles or 4,000, whatever, no matter what, you're going to pay $298.37 a week. But remember, this is with ATBS and driver legal in there. So if I change these to 0, the absolute minimum is going to be $271.90. So no ifs, ands, or buts. $271.90 is the absolute minimum you're going to pay per week. With my options added in, it's $298.37. I don't pay for medical insurance or any of that other kind of stuff. Maybe you also want to do 401k. I'm a savvy investor myself, and I invest outside of 401ks, and I'm okay with getting taxed right now. I'm more interested in getting my my regular investment account built up than I am with my 401k account. And I don't use JCT's 401k. I just use Thrift Savings Plan, which I got from my federal service, and I'm working with that. I can't contribute to it, but that's okay. I can still manage it, and with what money's already in it. And again, I'm married to a woman who has a full-time job, and she has good insurance and good job, and I don't need the insurance benefits that come with it that you can get from JCT. So I don't pay any of that. Some of you guys may want it or need it. Some of you guys might not need it. Depends on your own situation. So just for that, just keep that in mind. Fixed payment, $298.37. Now fuel. I got it at 336 right now. Basically, this is what it does. It figures out how much you should budget for fuel. But first, let's figure out what the fuel surcharge is going to be first, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so you go on, if you just go on a web browser or whatever and look for EIA, I have it as, you see I go to it a lot. EIA.gov/petroleum/gas diesel/. That'll take you to the weekly fuel price homepage. Okay, this is regular gas. I don't care about that. I want to know about diesel. On-highway diesel, yeah. So U.S., the national average is, it was 336 a couple of weeks ago, and then it went down to 3.356 last week, and then this week is at 332, so 3.324. If I come in here, I can do, now my surcharge is going to be equals 3.324 divided by 7. Actually, minus $1. Oh, wait. No, sorry, I missed a step in there. So 3.324 equals 3.324 minus $1.30. Okay, just so you see what that comes out, that's 202. So now I'm going to put these in parentheses. Got to PEMDAS this because I'm going to do a division by 7 here. But I need that whole entire value, that difference to be divided. All right, so fuel surcharge is still 29 cents a mile. Come on. A little slow there, apparently. Okay, market premium basically depends on how the freight rates are. They can raise and lower it between 0 and whatever. Right now it's at 8 cents a mile. If the freight rates keep going up, they might increase that. And if the freight rates go down, they'll decrease it some amount. Right now it's 8 cents a mile. And then for solo drivers, it's $1.05 per mile. So this is where this guy is working with obsolete information in that Facebook um, post. He's saying $1 a mile, and he's not even factoring in the market premium or the actual current rate or the fuel surcharge. So what you really end up with is $1.42. Add all those up, you can see right here, sum is 142. So what we really get paid per mile ultimately is $1.42. That does not include our safety bonus, which is can actually add a couple more miles to there. It's not guaranteed, but you can say that you get ultimately about $1.44 a mile. All right, so we're not running a typical week. Well, when I'm actually running, it's very common for me to run on average about 3,100, 3,200 miles. I'm going to go ahead and just go with 3,000 first, just to give you kind of a ballpark. All right, now this, I need to change this to 332 though, because I have this set to go by what the previous national average that I knew was. That it's gone down a little bit though. So what this means when I run a 3,000 mile week, I should budget. Doesn't mean I have to spend that much on fuel, but it means I should budget for $1,422.86 worth of fuel. And then with DEF, I usually get about 160, maybe 170 miles per gallon out of my DEF. Usually it should go about, it's only a 20 gallon tank versus 200. It's basically a tenth the size um, of the diesel tanks, but and it only depletes about half the speed, somewhere around there. But my math on my spreadsheet, my log miles thing there, it usually comes out to somewhere in the 160, 170 range, perhaps, per gallon. So that in mind, this kind of gives me an idea how much I should plan on spending on both fuel and DEF on a given load or on a given week. And one of my friends who's a planner for us was he's even sworn that I can probably figure out within a few cents of what I'm going to get paid every week. And he's absolutely right. This spreadsheet tells me everything right here. I know exactly every single line item on my settlement, what I'm expecting. And I know exactly what I can expect to take home on every single week based on that. All right, so budgeting for 1422, but it doesn't mean I have to spend that much. I could possibly get it for less. DEF, it's been averaging about 310 or so a gallon lately. It's gone up for sure. It used to always be less than $3 a gallon everywhere, but it seems like it's somewhere in the 310, 315 range now. So we'll just kind of budget somewhere around 60-ish. Either way, if I run a 3,000 mile week with my truck, 22 cents a mile, I'm paying $660 for the variable truck payment plus the 120 for the fixed. That's a 780 total truck payment. See down here. And for tire and maintenance, it's $150 for the truck payment over a 3,000 mile week if I'm only paying 5 cents a mile. Now, I told you I actually pay 15 cents a mile on mine right now. At some point in time, I'll take it back down to zero or even remove it altogether once I have my maintenance account at maybe a higher, a certain level that I want it to be at, which I plan to do at least 3,000. All right, at least $10,000 in that account before I shut it off. All right, so ultimately what we come out to is take home of 1668.08. That's actually a quality week there. If you want to know how much it comes out to per year, well, there's 52 weeks a year, so I can multiply that by 52, and that's 86,739 a year. Now, even if I only do 50 weeks, maybe I take a couple of weeks off overtime. That's still over 80,000 a year payment amount. That's not bad at all. That's a quality income. Is it as high as you can get in the trucking industry as a lease driver? No, but also keep in mind some of what you're not making, you're investing more into buying the truck from JCT than what you are with a regular lease program. Because like I said, with a regular lease program, you usually always have a balloon payment to deal with. I usually hear from other drivers it's like $25,000 to $40,000 for the payment if you want to buy the truck at the end of the program. And then I was talking about a friend of mine who just left us for Coastal Carriers. He seems happy there. It works for his needs, but he's him. He has his own different needs and his own situation that's different from my own, and might be different from yours too. Now he says that he's regularly taking home closer to $3,000 a week now, but at the end of his, I think he said it was a 3-year contract. I think it was 3 years. He said he has to pay an $80,000 balloon payment to buy the truck. $80,000. Okay, so for context here, I might take home half of what he makes, but I'm also making larger payments toward my truck. And I'm on pace to have mine paid off in only 4 years and 3 or 4 months. I started driving for JCT in March of about mid-March 2018, and I'm on pace to have it paid off the latter part of June next year. So that's barely over 4 years and 3 months, not even 4 months. And once that's said and done, the truck's mine. There's no balloon payment at all to make. As long as my maintenance account's in the black, I go to Sepulpa. Here's my dollar. Give me my title. It's that simple. So this is where there's contrast between how one lease program works to another. Yeah, ours. Yeah, I'm not gonna make as much on a good week as someone who's having a fixed truck payment, and I'll show you some more on that in the spreadsheet in a second. But um, but then when I do have a bad week, like the week I'm having right now, with my truck sitting needlessly in the shop for as long as it is, I'm not gonna have a paycheck next week because I didn't run any miles. I got paid today, but yeah, that's for what miles I ran before I came home. And then after that, next week, I'm not going to have any miles at all pay. So that 300 that you saw on there, yeah, I'm going to be in the hole that amount. And actually, a little bit closer to 500 because I pay child support as well every week. So, and that automatically comes out of my settlements. It's just my own personal situation. But if I didn't have the child support, it'd be just $300 is all I'd be in the hole for next week. If you run a regular lease program and you have a week next week like I'm going to have, or a week paid next week like I am, no miles at all, you're going to probably be in the hole closer to $1,000 or even more. And then you have to have a really good week the next week to make up what you owe the company now for that last settlement, and then so you're going to have basically two really bad weeks in a way, or one really bad week and then one that's not as good as it could be, even though you ran the miles, and then you'll finally be back up to running, the harder miles and getting higher paying settlements. All right, so keep that in mind. Um, All right, so let's go back to the spreadsheet and do some more like scenarios kind of stuff. If you're paying 26 cents a mile, or maybe paying extra for the maintenance payments or whatever, we'll cover all that, right? All right, so now you know what I personally would be making on a 3,000 mile week. Let's actually bump this up to about 3,150 because on a normal week, it's somewhere in that ballpark what I actually do get paid. Now, over the course of a year, between downtime and whatever, it might come out to somewhere between 27 and 2,800 literal miles. So let's go 2,750. And it's still it doesn't look so great there, but it's still not bad. 75,000 a year for for what I'd be making there. Not to mention the extra 2 cents a mile from the safety bonus that's something else to factor in. But that's what I'm going to look like if I averaged everything out. But on a typical week when I am running, it's about 3,150 or so. But remember, this is budgeting for this amount. Doesn't mean that I have to spend that amount. And I'll go over that in a second here. So Just if I'm just staying right at my budget, I could be taking home $1,766 a week on a 3,150 mile week. All right, and what I mean by the budgeting part, okay, just because I'm budgeting for that amount for fuel doesn't mean that I have to spend that much for fuel. So basically, let's break this down here. G1 divided by 7, what this actually does. I'm going to put this in here on the side so you have a better visual. Okay, what that's ultimately telling me at a 3,150 mile week, 7 miles per gallon, I should budget for 450 gallons of fuel at the national average price. And then multiply that by the national average, and that's where we come up with this 1494 figure. So there are different ways you can manage your fuel. If you want to do it um, efficiently, whatever, try to buy no more than that amount of fuel on every load, whatever. So if I'm doing it for an entire week, then it's 3150. And then my total fuel cost for that will be 1494. But now let's just say maybe I can get all my fuel for less than that price. Maybe I can get it on average for I don't know, about 320 a gallon. Let's do this multiplied by 320. All right, so if I get my fuel for an average of 320 a gallon, instead that saves me $50 right there, which you can add to what I take home there. $50 less on my cost means $50 more on my net profits here, which is 1760. Or actually, I would say gross profit, because I got to take out taxes. I got to sideline money for taxes as well, and generally about $1,500–1,600 a quarter for taxes, or about 6,000 out of that for taxes, and it's usually enough. Depends on your own tax situation and what tax bracket and all that. That's a whole different story there, though. Not going to get onto that whole crap with taxes, but either way. Really, I could be taking home over $1,800 a week if I'm only saving that little amount. If only 12 cents a gallon different in price. Now I can get it for less than that a lot of times. A lot of times I can get it for, let's just say I get my fuel in Holbrook a lot of which last time I fueled up there, I think it was like $3.15 a gallon. So if we change this to $3.15, we can now see that it's an almost $80 difference in price between what I'm budgeting and what I'm actually spending. So in reality, that puts me up more around 1840, getting closer to 1850, possibly even with what I could be taking home that week. So is that a bad week? No, that's a decent amount there. I was an aircraft mechanic. I made 85,000 a year, or somewhere in that ballpark, and that came out to about 1650 a week, if I remember right. So 1766, 1800 plus. That's a quality week. There's nothing to complain about there. If you know how to manage your fuel, you can actually make decent enough money here. And then on top of that, you're investing money toward owning your own truck as well. So, and that's how the lease program here is actually geared for, is for you to actually pay the truck off and not just to own it for, not just to lease it for about 3 years and then switch over to something else because you never saved any money up for the balloon payment. Now you got to do another loan to buy the truck outright. That's what most people do. They don't put any money in savings, set it aside for that balloon payment, or a lot of times people also don't even set money aside for their taxes. So then they end up having to pay a huge amount every quarter, either every quarter or every year, whichever way you decide to do it. All right, so now let's now keep in mind my truck. I get about 6.8 miles per gallon out of my truck. So those of you guys who are going to be driving newer trucks here, or are driving newer trucks here already, are going to get better fuel economy out of your trucks than I get. But you're also going to have larger truck payments. So ultimately, like say if you got a 2021 Freightliner, I'm going to put this at 26. And all right, so Looks like it cuts off about $120 or so out of what you could be taking home. But you're also getting better miles per gallon out of your truck than I'm going to get. So your fuel costs are going to be less, even if you're buying at the regular price. Um, or so you can save even more on fuel. But now I've done the math on this before, where as long as the payments are on the truck payments are being made, even though my truck will get fewer miles per gallon, I'll actually take home more than what the average JCT driver is going to take home, because with what I don't pay in truck payments versus what they do pay versus what they save in fuel costs versus what I save, whatever. It actually biases a little bit in my more so in my favor on how much actually the take home is. But once the truck is paid off, then the longer you keep the truck, if you're driving a truck with that gets those better miles than I get, then it'll really help you out more in the long run, where you can make even more than I can, over the long run. All right, so that kind of covers that. I hope. All right, so I hope that covers a lot of the questions that people might have, or um, I don't know, issues that people might have with JCT's lease program. I guess I could even just go over, what if you had? Well, I don't really know all my line by line details of other lease contracts, so I don't really want to go into that unless somebody wants to send me information on what they actually, what their terms are. Like, what does their settlement cover? What are their fixed expenses? What do they pay for truck payments? What kind of balloon payment is involved, and all that kind of stuff. You got to look at long term. If you don't plan to own the truck at all and you just want to move from truck to truck, then that 3-year program like my friend does at Coastal might be a better option for you. Yeah, but if you actually want to own the truck sooner, at some point in time, and maybe get your own authority with it, or even just make better money. And that's something else I didn't even cover, is how much can I make if my truck is paid off. So let's get back to that. Let's go on to that spreadsheet, since I forgot to talk about it. Okay, so if I don't have any truck payments at all to make, let's change this back to 22 cents a mile, because this applies to me. Got 1766.40. All right, now if we remove the lease payments, change that to 0, and now we're talking 24.59. 24.59.40. That's if I'm not making lease payments anymore, but I'm still making maintenance escrow payments. So let's see what kind of difference in take home that is. It's obviously, it's 693, just like I mentioned earlier, like it showed earlier. But so that's a good, almost $2,500 a week settlements. With no truck payment to worry about. Actually, it's even more than that, because I forgot to take that 120 off. That doesn't apply either. All right, so 25.79.40. Now let's see what we're really saving. It's more like $800, $813. So $2,600 a week paychecks. And if we do that, let's just say 50 times a year, that's well over $100,000 a year. That's not bad at all. That's nothing to complain about. All right, and then also if we add in let's just say we're done paying the tire maintenance escrow stuff, that goes up even more, $2736.90. Or $970 a week increase in take-home pay by not having maintenance or truck payments to do, and that's over $130,000 a year salary. That's not anything to complain about, guys. Okay, so like I said, you can make that amount probably closer to that amount right away with some other lease contracts, or will you really make that much? Let's see what your 1099s are. I'm assuming it's 1099 if you do a lease contract. What you really do make a year. after that point. Yeah. Take all your revenues and subtract all your costs, and then that's your actual annual income. Um, and then add in, okay, well, what if I have a 3-year plan and I want to have this truck paid off? All right, so like I said, my friend is doing $80,000 balloon payment at the end of his contract. That's it's 2,666 a year that he'd have to budget, or I mean 26,000. Sorry, 26,666 if I'm doing my math correctly. And that's what he'd be having a sideline for taxes, I mean, for his truck payments, for his balloon payment, if he wants to have, just have no truck payment to make after the 3 years. So he could be making 120,000 a year, and then he'll still have to sideline that extra money. That's 90,000. So that's a decent amount. Yeah, that could be a better paying thing. But then also, how many times do we hear drivers saying they make a certain amount, but they're only telling you what they make on the really good weeks. They're not telling you what they make on an average week. A lot of times they could be telling you, "Oh yeah, I got paid a 4,000 plus mile week this week." Which can happen, but 70-mile an hour truck running 70 hours a week. Don't plan on doing more than about 3,500 miles in a regular 7-day spin. And I'll show you my own numbers, and I run pretty good numbers, good miles. And there's another thing where people suck with math and misinterpret, misconstrue numbers. Because they'll look at their 8-day page and say, "Oh, yeah, I got like over 4,000 miles out of this 70-hour clock." But but your 70-hour clock covers an 8-day period. It doesn't cover a 6-day or 7-day period necessarily. It might, but more likely, you might end up using like a whole 7. I mean, it just depends, because sometimes you're going to spend time sitting in dock doors and stuff, or waiting for appointment times. Anyway, I got the numbers, and I know that I'm one of the higher. I don't run as many miles as every. I don't run more miles at JCT than everybody else does, but I'm on the higher end. I'm in the top 10% easily of what how many miles I get paid for versus what other drivers do. And I know how to I know how to manage my clock very well, and the numbers don't lie. It's I usually say plan on driving about 50 or so hours per week, and then multiply that by your governed speed, and then whatever that comes out to is about the best you can usually expect to get out of a regular 7-day period. Here, I'm going to show you my spreadsheet again. I have these numbers here. I'll show you that. Okay, as you see here, I got I have both 7 and 8-day numbers, so you can get a better comparison of what's really going on here with between the 70-hour clock and what's actually happening in a rolling 7-day period versus a rolling 8-day period. All right, so as you see here, 7 days, and I'm running decent miles here. There was here it was slow because I was low on hours. I was running on recaps. So it does kind of look like I'm not running as hard as I could be, but in reality, these are good miles. What do you see here? I do have one here at 35.15, but that's about as high as it gets. Let's come up here, cover all those. The max was 35.29, which was that one on 16 July. Now let's see what the most I've done in 7 days was, and I have almost literally every single 36.61 there. Max was 40.95. So it is possible to do 4,000 plus in a 7-day period, but it's not very common that you're going to run those kind of miles in a week. And you look at my average, it's 27.37. That also includes downtime though. So, but if you let's say exclude these times where I wasn't running at all because I was home, or I think I had something going on there. Let's just put those miles in there. Still averaging 27.78 or so per week. Max was 35.15. And with the 8-day period, The max was 4,071 miles. So out of a 70-hour clock, I ran over 4,000 miles. But again, that's not in an actual week. That's actually plus 1 day on top of a week. Um, so naturally, these numbers are going to look higher on the 8 day than they will on the 7 day. And this is where a lot of people are. We'll try to confuse you and make it, or maybe not necessarily try to confuse you, but they'll succeed into confusing you and making it sound like they'll make more than they really do make, or run more miles than they really do run. All right, so now I know that went pretty in depth there. Discovered a longer time than a lot of people probably want to spend time watching, but so what? If you can't be bothered, take the time to learn this kind of stuff, then sorry, you got no chance of running a successful business. You don't think like a business person if you're not willing to take time to learn stuff or effectively manage your budget, your business budget and all that. So let's say you can do this successfully. Uh, Now, I'm not going to say that this is the ideal place for everybody, especially if you're a single income earner. You have a family to support, and you're the only breadwinner for your family, and you don't have a good budget, have any good budget habits, like where you see money, you spend money, or maybe your wife does, or sorry, it's just kind of the way it is. Um, if you spend every damn dime you have every week, and you never have money set aside for those bad weeks, then you're going to have a hard time. This might not be the ideal lease program for you, but if you're like me, for one, I'm home all the time because most of my routes cover this area. Two, I got a wife who works full time, and I'm also a military retiree. Well, I don't really get paid my military pension yet because I retired from the reserve side, so I'm gonna wait till I turn 60 for that part. But that'll be extra income coming for me when I do get to that point. And I always sideline money into investments as well, and I have money set. I always have money there that I can fall back on if I do have a bad week, and maybe we go over our weekly budget. Or maybe you spend all of the money that my wife makes also. So it's not a problem for me. Now we have other benefits to deal with too, like her 401k, or all of her medical benefits, which are really good. And so this is a great place for me. I have a lot of great friends here. Established a really good rapport with a lot of people here, both at the terminal in Sapulpa and out here on the road, whatever. And I like the atmosphere. I've 20 years in the military. You never worked on your own. Almost never. It's any job you ever did, pretty much you always had at least somebody there helping you or working with you. And if you can't work as a team, then military is not for you. And I'm used to the team atmosphere. And there are pros and cons to working for a bigger company versus doing your own, flying solo thing too. I'm not gonna cover that here, but there are pros and cons to run an owner op versus lease purchase versus just lease to lease, whatever, versus company driver. I might do another video on that or something separately, because that's a whole other can of worms that I'd have to go into. Pandora's box, whatever. Anyway, just say there are pros and cons to every program. Maybe this program, it sounds like it's a good fit for you. Maybe it might not be. And that's what I want, is for you to be well informed on before you even come here, because I don't want you, if you're interested in JCT, if you're a driver. Now this is only the lease part of JCT, by the way, because we do actually have company drivers here too now, and they get paid between 45 and 51 cents a mile, if I'm not mistaken. And again, it's and that's another can of worms there. I don't need to go into on this here, but that's roughly the range that drivers tend to make here as company drivers. This is strictly about lease purchase program with JCT, and then comparing our program to what the run-of-the-mill lease program is at other carriers. All right, so that's all I have. I'm going to be hitting, and I did that, offered that Plainview load also, so I will be picking it up out of our drop yard tonight and heading out toward Texas with it. So I might have some more footage for you guys coming pretty soon here. Don't think I'll do footage of the drop yard pickup because I'm going to be bobtailing over there. But when I get to Plainview, I'll probably have some more footage again for you from there. Okay. All right, you guys. Appreciate you guys taking the time to watch and learn, and we'll see you guys next time. All right. Thanks. Bye.